wanted to talk about UFC 304. It's a very UK British focused card. So I couldn't think of a better person to chat with than Lewis Collins. Lewis, how you doing today, man?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Oh, doing well. Thank you for asking. Now, this is an interesting event. UFC 304. Finally, we get a numbered event in the UK, and they put it on at like 5 a.m. or something preposterous. What is this, man?
I can't believe they're actually doing it at that time because they've done Leon Edwards and Usman last year. That was a reasonable time, but I think I seen that they're only allowed to do 2 events a year through SPN or whatever at like a set time after, which I'm not sure how it's going to work with all the crowd leaving at like 6:30 in the morning, like going on to the streets at that time. I'm not quite sure how that's going to work, but it's...
Man, I think back in the day, like Bisping did one event. I want to say the Anderson Silva fight was like at 4 a.m, some weird time like this. And you know, it sucks because I think the UK actually gets it worse than anywhere else. Because even Australia, it can be like 7 a.m. sometimes, and that's not too bad. Ends at 10. Japan, kind of same range there. UAE and Saudi get perfect times, but the UK just gets the worst times consistently, don't they?
It's even harder because every week in, week out, we have to stay up for any other event. And in the one time we do get an event throughout the year, especially a pay-per-view, 2 champions defending their belt, and then ends up at that crazy clock. It's just, I'm actually not going to this event, but I would have been going, but my girlfriend's pregnant, so it's too close to the due date to kind of risk anything like that. But and I don't think she'd be willing to be going at 11, 12 o'clock before it's starting. It's a bit too late, but I didn't think it's very fair on the fans or the British fighters as well, even the European fighters or whatever. It's a bit, I mean, I'm sure it'll adjust and stuff, but it's got to be a bit hard going to benefit the American fighters, definitely, I think.
Yeah, they're kind of fighting in their time zone. And the fighters have said very different things. Like when we did an interview with Mateusz Bukauskas, he was like, no, I don't care at all. It makes no difference. Tom Aspinall was the other side of like, no, I need to prepare. I'm setting my alarms every night. And I really don't know what the right idea is. I feel like you have to adjust, but that means he's training at like 4 a.m. for the last couple of weeks. That's just odd.
Yeah, well, what I seen Leon and Tom in an interview. I think it was through Tom's YouTube page, and they were saying that Leon had been speaking to a specialist or something regarding it, and he had basically said because he would usually train at like 7, 8 p.m, and then if he's fighting, it wouldn't be till about 10 p.m. anyway. So instead of him like training or fighting, sparring, whatnot, at like 1 a.m, 2 a.m. in the morning, he's got to just do it a few hours ahead of time. So he's not having to get 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. It's crazy that they could be like Leon and Bilal and Tom and Blaze could be walking at like 4, 5, 6 in the morning. It's crazy. Like,
man, it's something else. But the fights themselves are quite good. Headlined, it's an interesting headliner because the top 2 bookings on the card are rematches to 2 fights that were extremely inconclusive. And you were actually there for the main event, the last time that Curtis Blades, the co-main event, the last time that Curtis Blades and Tom Aspinall, you were there live, right?
Yeah, it was a bit a bummer because obviously being at that headline, that card, I'm pretty sure at that point. And then the whole night sort of leads up to the main event, and it was, I think it was like 30 seconds before the actual, because it was one of the first exchanges, and then it just sort of went for the leg kick, and then his knee blew out, and then it's an anticlimactic way to sort of end the event, something like that, especially when we only got a couple of years.
Oh, I know. And that was after, so they did COVID, and then that March event in London was...
The March event went brilliant. It was brilliant, and that was a fight, they were both a fight night, actually, but they were still both fantastic atmosphere. I was at the one in March, and then again, because I think that one was in July, the next one it was, or I might be for the Tom and Curtis, the first fight.
Something like that, yeah, something like that. But yeah, no, the first one was amazing. And I felt, so that was the first UFC event that I had attended as media. So I was working downstairs at the time, and like I felt almost bad because we gave Paddy Pimblett and Molly McCann like 25 minutes for a press conference, and they're just chatting away, they're plugging their products. Curtis Blades comes out, and it's like you could hear a pin drop. Like even the media like has the like Curtis Blades does not get the respect that he deserves in all honesty, right?
Definitely not. He's wrestling, but I think he's stand up as well in the last 2-3 years or whatever. I'm pretty certain that the two big losses, it's been knocked out, but it's two of the biggest punchers in probably MMA history. Both of I think it's Derek Lewis and Ngannou are the only people and Pavlovich, was it Pavlovich?
Yeah, Sergey Pavlovich as well.
Pavlovich not caught him as well, but he's just been, he's fought the biggest punchers, and that's the only people he's sort of lost to. I don't think he does get enough credit, to be honest. I think people are looking at Tom as a clear sort of winner for this, but I think Tom said it himself. I think this is genuinely the hardest matchup in the whole division for Tom, maybe for anyone, but especially like Tom, like, although he's got the jiu-jitsu and understand up in wrestling as well, it's a different sort of wrestling pedigree in America compared to what he's been used to.
Oh, yeah. That US wrestling is like a cheat code, isn't it? It's freaking
exactly,
ridiculous.
Yeah, they're doing that from like, the thing is, in like the UK and some parts of Europe, obviously like Russia and stuff like that, it's different where they're constantly, but especially in the UK, there's no really like many just standard wrestling gyms at all. Like a lot of anyone that can sort of wrestle for the UK is sort of through MMA. So if you're not really, whereas these guys are doing wrestling for 4, 5, 6 years old, it's just uncomparable. Obviously, it's a bit different when they're getting punched in the face or kneed or elbowed, but like the standard of like straight wrestling, it's uncomparable unless you've got maybe like the Russians, for instance, or some of these Polish or the type of Europeans over there.
Oh yeah, no, it's absolutely insane. And like I knew one guy, Jared Brooks, who's in one, but he was a statewide wrestling champion. And even being a statewide champion in the US isn't enough for you to move to the next stage in your career, because there's a million other people who have better pedigrees. So even as a state champion in the US, like it is very, very competitive. But Curtis Blades came up through the wrestling system, extremely, extremely impressive wrestler. And he converted that really well to MMA. Like his record has some incredible, incredible names on it of people like Junior Dos Santos and Alistair Overeem and Mark Hunt, like people who are hard to outstrike. I almost feel like it's a little bit of a battle of initiative, but he has out wrestled great strikers in this.
Fought everybody as well. He's fought a lot of contenders as well. He's fought even his last fight was Almeida. Was his last fight?
Yeah, Gelton. Yeah.
And like even the first round, like he was sort of on the defensive, sort of a bit to start with, but then obviously you can sort of see like obviously the burst and stuff, but he's actually pure solid completely. Like especially like his wrestling and stuff, but even though that was a bit of a difficult fight, I've got a feeling I think Aspinall will probably try to stay on the feet with him, but I don't think because of the first fight you didn't get a chance to see enough. That's the problem.
What can you learn from the first fight? It was 30 seconds, and I think they threw 7 strikes. Things were kind of cooking. It was a good fight up until for the first sort of few exchanges, but as you said, because the fight ended so quickly, it's a bit different to Leon and Bilal, because Leon and Bilal, you got a wee bit of insights, even though it wasn't a long enough time to see what would have happened the rest of the fight. But I think with Tom and Blades, it was over before you knew it. I know John Jones said that he's seen a lot of holes or whatever he's seen through Aspinall for the first fight, but like it's 30 seconds, even though they were sort of both going for it. It's just one of them. It ended that quickly. It was hard to take away sort of anything from it. Oh yeah, I agree with that. And Tom Aspinall fights like, it's hard to describe. This guy is like a ball chasing a matador.
Yeah.
Man, this guy just runs straight at his opponents, whether it's with standing punches, whether he takes you down and looks for a submission. Like, it is so impressive. I remember his Alexander Volkov win. I was like, yeah, I think Alexander Volkov can circle to the outside line.
I was there as well. I think that was that. I'm certain. Was that the London card in March as well?
It was. Yeah. I remember
that. I thought that would have been a difficult fight for him, but he just sort of ran through him as well.
Man, it is absolutely absurd. Now, I think he's coming off an injury. Do you think that's going to mean anything for his future career? He's a young guy, full-size heavyweight. His speed is a key part of his game. With an injury, like I think it was his shoulder or knee, I can't remember. Quite a bit.
I think it's just it's sort of hard to tell until they've actually sort of came back and seen what the actual outcome is. I think you didn't really know until they're in there. You can, even if they feel like that, it's not been got to be ball or them in the fight or whatnot, but you can sort of tell quite quickly, I think, in the fight, if they say if it's the knee or whatever, they throw a kick, instantly you can sort of see, or if they're a bit sort of tense to throw anything in case they sort of hurt themselves in that sort of area of game.
It's tough to say, but heavyweight's such a weird division where he is a young man at heavyweight, but you got guys like Overeem and Mark Hunt who fought until their 40s. So Tom Aspinall might still have 25 years ahead of him. Anyway, that's the thing. Go on. Sorry.
No, I've just got. I'll let you go, and that was it.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. So this is such a funny matchup because, like, as we're saying, I really do think it is a battle of initiative of like, you can do this match 25 times and you get 25 different results of like who gets a takedown first. Are they going to stay standing? What happens while standing? That sort of thing. But ultimately we have to play the game of like what we've seen from these two going into the match, what we saw in the past fight. So ultimately, what is your pick in this matchup?
I think it's a really difficult one. I don't think it goes the full distance anyway. I think it doesn't get past the third round. I could see, to be honest, I could see Tom coming out and blitzing him early, similar to what I'd done with Pavlovich, and getting the win. But Blades' striking's a lot underrated as well. So I wouldn't be crazy surprised if Blades caught him with something, or even caught him with something, and then he went in sort of wrestling exchanges, and then you sort of see them grappling for a bit. I'm probably leaning towards Tom, but I think it's such an unpredictable fight, especially due to the first one. And as I say, I think it's either. I think if it gets to 2 or 3 rounds, I think Curtis's wrestling might sort of play a factor. But the thing is, Tom's jiu-jitsu, like, even though he's got this high level jiu-jitsu, we've actually not really seen him have to sort of technically use it too much, to be honest. So it's a hard one, definitely a hard one, but I am leaning towards Tom Aspinall. What about yourself?
Man, yeah, and that's the thing of like Deep Waters, it's a huge question, and we haven't seen him have to use his jiu-jitsu defensively.
Exactly, yeah, defensively.
Working from guard is a different game, especially with a wrestler on top of you. Deep Waters, like you said, I think this is a Curtis Blades fights all day long, and especially over 5 rounds. But it's a matter of, do we get to that point? And that's the real question. Can Curtis Blades survive the initial onslaught that goes on for the first 5 minutes? And again, I really don't know. And this is why, like, again, they fought once before and it was an odd ending. This fight might just be a weird ending as well. It's a tough, but I want to see Tom tested. Having those questions answered of like, maybe he's better in Deep Waters. Maybe he does wall walks really well. That's stuff we don't really know, right?
Yeah, well, I think I've seen Tom saying that. He's like wanting to sort of get a bit more, because all his fights say they're just, because it's such a quick, crazy explosion, and then no one can really sort of take the first 2 rounds of him. And then I'm trying to think, has he ever went a distance? I don't
check. In his entire career.
He has, ever. Maybe like before the UFC or amateur career or whatnot, but
not even in his professional boxing career has he reached.
Exactly, yeah, that's the thing. Because I seen him saying he's got to try the gypsy old-fashioned way, dipping his hands in petrol to try to his knuckles. I think he's like using British humour, like having a good laugh, but I'm not sure, to be honest. I think he was just sort of winding Ariel up, but I don't know. Because he seemed pretty legit, like he was being serious, but I think he was possibly just winding it, because Ariel sort of likes to bite to the British sort of humour, or try to be like involved with it. And I think Tom was just sort of playing on that and just sort of seeing if, I think even Ariel was like, really? That can't be good for you.
But yeah, I think ultimately I am going to, like, this is one of those, if I was forced to put $50 on the line, 50 quid on the line, Tom Aspinall, right? Like, you have to pick Tom.
So, yeah.
Momentum's on his side. It is a question of what do you do next, though? And the heavyweight top of the division is a mess, isn't it?
I think it's great. To be honest, I've seen obviously the stuff with John Jones in the news and the media the week or so, and I was sort of suspecting Dana to sort of strip him, but because I remember it wasn't too long ago, Dana was sort of slating Jones, telling him he should move to middleweight, so he doesn't have to fight. Was it a state like heavyweight, or just to avoid Ngannou at any cost? And now it's flipped completely, and it's pushing it too hard. You can tell he's pushing it too hard. About, like, I get it's John Jones, he is best ever, whatever, but he's pushing it too hard. I think, it's the pound for pound. I think the pound for pound, and I think it's more about sort of the time, who at that moment in time, who's sort of doing the best in the divisions or moving up or whatnot. And I just didn't understand. John Jones, greatest all time, fair enough, but I didn't understand how you could put him above like Islam or even Piera or like any of the champions that are fighting and defending their titles consistently. Like, I get it. Overall, longevity is he's better. He's greatest all time. But in the last 2 years, he's not really. It's hard to tell as well with the Gan fight. I think that was sort of tailor made for him as well.
I mean, Gan like fell over.
Exactly, yeah. And the submission went so quick. Like, even when they were on commentary, I don't think they were surprised at the sort of commentary. I think that was actually supposed to be what they were saying originally. They were wanting Gan in this match up here for Tom, but apparently he's out shooting a movie or something in France. But then he's fighting, I think he's fighting on the France card in September, October, or whenever it is.
Is he confirmed for that one? I would hope that he's on it, otherwise it's a little bit harder.
I think because they were saying that, because it was a bit surprised. I'm not 100% sure, but I know that they were saying he was good. Is he on the card? Yeah.
Alexander Volkov rematch.
Volkov, yeah, I think Volkov will be a quite hard fight for him.
Volkov keeps getting better. Like he's
it's crazy. He's still sort of turning up and surprising. But I think, but even like Gan, like it's crazy that for the difference of 3-4 months or whatever the difference between the fights are, that when you take a title fight, I get obviously wants to fight in his hometown or whatnot, but if you offered a title fight and then you say no because you're filming, if it is a film in a movie, but apparently that's what it was, and then you're fair enough if that's what you're doing, that's what you're doing. But within a couple of months later, you're back fighting in your hometown when 2 months before you could be fighting and win the title, interim or no, it's no. I don't even, to be honest, I don't really even class it as an interim title now. It's
the title.
It's the title. I think, as I say, John Jones is best ever or whatnot, but like what happened, they're putting that fight off Stipe, and what happened, like for instance, like me, that I travelled over to New York last year, and that was the base for me to go for the UFC, to go and see John Jones and Stipe. And it was 2 weeks before. I remember I was getting up for work and I seen it on my phone. I was like, "Are you joking?" I was like, I could not believe it. I was absolutely devastated. But the only thing is, like, I love John Jones and stuff like that, but like the British fighters, obviously it's different. You've sort of got more of a horse in the race. So when they added Tom there, and I was like, and it was a banger of a fight as well, what with Pavlovich. So you obviously it was a bit more, I think, intriguing fight. But still, it was like at the time I couldn't believe John Jones put injured, and then because the thing is, like, because he's getting older, and if they reschedule that fight for November, what happens if Stipe gets injured now, or he gets it, like they've got to push it back another 6 months? I think they should just go for it now with the winner of Blades and Aspinall versus Jones, or if they want to make a super fight, just chuck Alex Pereira in there, and just purely for the actual like craziness here and the actual give him a chance to. Don't get me wrong, I think it's a bit unfair on Aspinall and Blades, but a super fight's a super fight, yeah. And if I'm honest, I think Aspinall beats. I think he beats Pereira. Jones is too hard to say because you've only seen Jones fighting once in 4 years, 3 years, and back in the day it's different. You just didn't at that age. Like, I don't understand how you can still be that good by not doing something.
But yeah, this is the thing with the John Jones fights. He is still the name in MMA. You put his name on an event, and it's awesome.
Exactly.
But the thing is, out of his options, Pereira or Tom Aspinall or Curtis Blaze or whatever, the least interesting option is Stipe by far.
Exactly.
Right? Like neither of these guys have, like, combined, they have like one win over any heavyweights over the last few years. It's just such an uninteresting fight. And John, oh man, I don't want to be too critical on him, but his last few fights at light heavyweight weren't exactly amazing.
A little closer.
Man, they weren't looking good against like questionable competition. But pound for pound, like, you really have to question, why would you rank a heavyweight pound for pound? Have you seen how bad the division is? Like, the division,
exactly.
And he hasn't beat anybody in the division, basically.
And I think, as I said, I think Gan was just sort of tailor-made for him. Don't get me wrong, seeing the build-up, I was sort of thinking because of Gan's sharpness and stuff like that. But when you look at like Francis's whole career, he's always been striking. He controlled Gan on the ground for a decent part of that fight. And then when you realise it's John Jones, the difference in level, it's not even comparable. So he sort of thought, if Jones gets a hold of him didn't, to be honest, I didn't think it'd be that quick and that short a night. But I did sort of have that feeling that they say if Jones could get a hold of him, then that's it. I didn't think it would get out of that round, or it would control him for the entire round, and it'd be the same sort of for the next game round. But I just Dana's got a right. It's weird because he's got like a love-hate with John Jones relationship, and he's sort of obviously like right at this moment in time. I think it's like the most likely time that you would think him to treat him like this superstar, compared to like when he was at like heavyweight, and even Dana didn't speak about him how he does now. Then when he was on this big hot streak, beating absolutely everybody.
Yeah, no, I know. I don't entirely know what's going on. I think there's something behind the scenes with like. Whether it's not, maybe they're negotiating with a government like Saudi Arabia or Qatar or something like that. Like someone's really putting out money for John Jones.
Yeah,
trying to like drive up his price or something. But yeah, you're right. Of like he went from a guy who was like John Jones is never going to headline an event while I'm president and all that stuff. And we moved an event from Vegas to LA to now being like, nah, he's the greatest. But it's also great to see because Dana is a promoter. Like this is his job. Yeah. He usually trash talks his fighters. So for him to promote someone, it's actually kind of refreshing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just strange how like I think he's sort of because the sport's got so much bigger, I'd say in the 3-4 years that Jones has actually been inactive and been away and whatnot. And then there's a lot of new fans that are realising like just how good Jones was. Or maybe still is, probably still is, but and then Dana's jumping straight on that bandwagon. But I don't know, I just think we need to see him. I think everyone's in the same thing except for Dana, that everybody wants to see him fight anybody but Stipe. And it's not even a knock on Stipe, but Stipe's fought once in nearly 4 years, and he got knocked out in his last fight.
Yeah,
beat DC, and was the DC trilogy 2021 now? Over 3 years ago.
Yeah, it was in the Apex. So yeah,
so over 3.5 years since he's won a fight, and the last time we did see him fight, he got knocked out. So.
And when he fought DC, both of those guys came in with walkers and wheelchairs, man. They were old in that fight.
Exactly. But both towards the end of the still a hard way for DC to end his career in the Apex after everything. But it's just that was just that time, I suppose. Everything was a bit up in there then.
And that's the thing, with all this, like, what is John Jones' next fight? In the amount of time that he hasn't fought, he could have beaten Tom Aspinall, Stipe Miocic, and Alex Pereira by now. And then he could have retired. Instead, we're just negotiating.
That's the thing as well. I think because the amount of time, even when he was sort of on his run, because obviously the failed tests and always carry on outside of even though he's known as the best ever, whatnot, I think his legacy could have been even more than that if all this stuff didn't happen and he continuously beat people throughout that time. And just to be honest, I think the heavyweight move would have happened a lot sooner if it didn't run into all these issues. It's actually just so many issues outside of the cage than inside the cage, because he's not had any issues really. He's had a few close fights and stuff, but they're all the recent fights as well, which is even more makes you think why. Like, I don't know if Dana's just wanting to put him against Stipe and let him ride off in the sunset sort of thing.
No, and yeah, I don't know. We could talk about the legacy all day of like, there's an asterisk next to everything, but he also beat like 7 UFC champions in the first year. Like, that's incredible. Or first year of winning the title. Like, it's just incredible stuff. And like, he beat my guy Shogun. So I've kind of hated John Jones for a while since 2011. But speaking of like Dana White being hot and cold on certain fighters, Leon Edwards and Bilal Muhammad have been on the other side of the Dana White reign. But these two guys, this is a rematch from a few years ago. Now they're going to be fighting for the undisputed welterweight title. I actually do like this fight quite a bit because of how much I like Leon Edwards. But is it going to look any different than the first time they met?
I mean, if I'm honest, I actually think at that point in time, the way if you watch all Leon's fights, you see him, he's sort of pacing and whatever for the first round or two. And it seemed like with Bilal, he just showed him no. Like, he just wanted to walk him down and just outstrike him and just keep him, because it was like pinging him up quite a bit. For a usual Leon Edwards first round sort of thing, he's sort of a lot more stable and just waiting sort of on picking his shots, whereas he just sort of walked Bilal down. But Bilal's obviously got a lot better since, but I think Leon's got so much better. I think Leon's confidence is what sort of, after beating, even though the second fight with Usman, like people are quick to talk about like the knockout at the end and the head kick, but the first round, people. That's why I was so confident for Leon in the trilogy, because whether it was the fatigue and stuff like that in Salt Lake City, it's like you watch that first round and Leon couldn't have went any better, and I think Usman and Kobe as well are both better versions of Bilal. Similar, obviously they've got differences, but they're a similar fight style. And because Leon's fought the two of them back to back, I just can't see how Bilal does anything they can't, because I don't think he's got the power that Usman does. And I don't really think he's got the pace and the cardio like Kobe does. It might surprise me, but I just can't see it.
You know, I would love to be a contrarian on this one of like, you know, Bilal's on this big win streak and stuff like that. And he's like outpaced these guys and outstruck all these guys. I would love to be a contrarian, but like I've seen him fight. And I saw the first fight, and like he was, so his stuff is always going to be cage cutting, clinching, threatening with takedowns, and he was struggling to do any of that against Leon in their first fight when they were fighting in the smaller cage. If you were struggling to clinch up and cut the cage against him in that cage, in the bigger one, Leon is going to do this all day, and that's the stuff where Leon really excels, is the in between. He is a very good striker, but he is so good at scrambling, working out from takedowns. He is so good on the counter clinching. There is stuff like that he just excels in. And I think like the last one was leaning. It was probably going to be like the second or third round TKO.
Yeah.
Does Leon get the TKO here, or do they just kind of dance around each other?
I think Leon, with being in Manchester and stuff like that, and I think, as I say, is the confidence, because you could even see the difference in him in the trilogy to the second fight with Usman, and in the Kobe fight. I think the Kobe fight, he sort of took the foot off the gas a bit, and even though he just kept him at his pace, and it just slowed Kobe down. I think Kobe had nothing for him, even though the last 30 seconds or whatever the fight Kobe got on top. But that's all. The only reason Kobe got anywhere near on top of him was because Leon was playing into the game, trying to exchange just to prove a point in the wrestling. Then I just don't see how it goes any different. I mean, I might be surprised. Obviously, Bilal's been training with Khabib and all that lot since, I don't think he had been training with him at that point. The first fight they had,
I want to say around Damian Maia or Stephen Thompson is when they did the switch or something like that. So he's been there for like 5 fights and has gotten better. No,
and he has gotten better. And I think I want to say though, was it the Sean Brady fight? That's when he sort of, I'm trying to think. I think that was the fight, and he finished him.
And good win. That's a very good win. Vicente Gilbert Burns, amazing wins, right?
But it's been the same. Him, like, he's picking facts that Leon not fighting often enough has been champion. But I noticed that earlier. I was like, trying to think. He's Bilal sort of. I get it. I feel bad because Bilal sort of had to wait, and he probably should have got his shot well before Kobe.
100%, man. No, Colby was ridiculous.
And then obviously, Leon sort of had a similar sort of path to the title as well, though. So it's funny because they've both actually had very similar careers and build-ups to getting their title shot. So it's one of them as well. You just didn't know. I think I can't see Bilal finishing him, but I wouldn't be crazy surprised if a 5-round I don't know. I'm saying that. I don't know. I was going to say Bilal maybe by decision, but I think Leon might come out and blow him at the water. But it's one of the ones as well. It's hard pick, but I think Leon takes that one surely.
I don't know what's going on with my camera here. Whatever. We'll just keep going. It doesn't matter. The thing is, one of the other interesting parts is like Bilal has had to wait for his title shot, which is rightfully his years ago. But Leon Edwards, the first time that they fought, I want to say that was just after he was canceled in his Tyron Woodley title fight. So that they met.
Yeah, I think so. Right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was that. Yeah, because I don't know if this was before or after, because Leon got offered Hamza, I think 3 times or whatever.
Yeah, and he said yes every time.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if it was either just after, because obviously Leon was supposed to fight Woodley. I think that was in London. It was supposed to be, but then COVID happened.
Yes,
and then they wanted him to step up on short notice when I don't think I'd been training or that during COVID. But after that, I think that was the Bilal fight, and because it was in the Apex and stuff at that point. I'm sure that was sort of early COVID.
But yeah, now they're going to pair off. We're both picking Leon probably by TKO here, right?
Yeah, I think so. I wouldn't be surprised if Leon subbed him, but I think that's a bit of a push. But I just don't see past Leon no matter what. I think Leon finish is most sort of plausible what could happen.
No, yeah. Like Leon, the way I've described him is like a watchmaker. And like he always has counter A goes to counter B. You try this thing, I counter with this every time. Like, and I think Bilal Muhammad plays well into getting countered into that style. Like he's not like Nate Diaz where he gets a little bit inventive and tricky. I think Bilal is really meat and potatoes with his striking. Am I wrong here?
I think you're right. Yeah, definitely. I think Bilal, he rushes in so much, and it favours him with certain fighters with the tenacity sort of thing, try to like crowd them and then get in close with them, and then they can sort of use his grappling and wrestling. But I think with Leon, he's too smooth and too footwork and that as well. Just sort of take him out the way, and I think I'll be able to just pick him apart for the outside. And then if Bilal does sort of rush in, I think he could sort of get caught. Or it could be like, it might end up being like the first fight, but Leon ends up knowing he can hurt him, because Leon hurt him early a couple times in the first fight. So I'm not sure if that's got to be sort of a similar situation and Leon might go for the finish.
I agree with you entirely on this. I think this is a nice, almost display fight for Leon Edwards, and it's the top guy in the welterweight division. Let's move on to the couple more main card fights. Just a few minutes left that I really do like a lot of these fights, like Bobby King Green versus Paddy Pimblett. What do you think? What do you make of it?
I mean, I think Paddy needs to take. I think Paddy needs to just basically take crazy risks. He might get caught, which I think might happen, to be honest, because Bobby is slick, really slick, and he's fought so many different types of fighters. So I think he sort of needs to. It's one of the ones. I think he needs to sort of stay a bit crazy, but just try to go for the grappling, because I don't think he's got to outstrike him. What's happened there?
All right, we're back. We're still recording. We'll cut.
Sorry, what happened? Yeah,
I really like Bobby Green on the feet, but he does head movement where he leaves his hips out. I think Paddy Pimblett probably takes him down and submits him and all. Right?
I think it's the thing is, I think it'll be a hard one for him to get in close to Bobby, because Bobby's so slick. I think if it does go to the ground, because I think Paddy's sort of grappling is underrated.
His grappling's incredible. He's a very good grappler, right?
Yeah. So obviously, I think people are just hard on Paddy no matter what. Like I think he could somehow go and beat anybody. No, not I think he could beat anyone, but I think he could no matter what he does. I think just because his personality, people are always just got to say, oh, but this or but that. They'll not actually give him the full credit. Is it like even with the Tony fight? I get people say Tony's washed or he's finished or what, he's old or what, but Tony was everybody Tony had fought, even though he had been beat so many, I think 6 times or 5 times in a row, every single person he had fought was top of the food chain sort of thing. Like, I think if you gave that Tony to somebody unranked, I still think Tony would do them. I think Tony would probably still, even though he's at the end of his career and he's had some losses, all his losses are against like the best of the best. And Paddy had a good showing against, obviously, I think he got tired after that first round, and he was just sort of holding and praying.
Tony actually does well. Like, he was doing fine against Michael Chandler until he lost. He did not bad against Charles Oliveira, the champion. Like, there's a lot of like good notes there. It's just his body seems to be made of paper mache.
It's just like, I think his style of fighting as well, since even like the Ultimate Fighter and that, he's always had that sort of war type fight, and it's like willing to take one. And I think the Gaethje fight just ruined him, to be honest. I think that fight just he's never got to be the same after that. Like, even though he's got the fight coming up as well, but I still don't think I think it is time to call it a day. But in terms of like Paddy and Bobby Green, I think either Paddy submission or Bobby Green either catches him. I think that's what makes it an intriguing fight, though. I think it's one of them we just don't know until it happens. But I do think it's got to. Bobby could sort of piece him up a bit, but Paddy could just start, because Paddy's known to be a bit wild. If Paddy gets wild, they might end up catch him and then get into a sort of submission exchange where they might catch him as well. But what do you think?
Yeah, I'm leaning Paddy in this one. I think the UFC knows what they're doing with matchmaking, and I do recognize this is also a pretty big step up for Paddy in that this is one of his first ranked fights, but also it's style wise. I think this is a pretty good fight for Paddy.
It suits him. It definitely suits him for his rank as well and his experience. It sort of suited into him. But I'm probably swaying towards Paddy as well, to be honest. Just though, I wouldn't be surprised either way.
Yeah, let's move on to Muhammad Mokaev versus Manel Kape. Does this fight actually happen? What do you think?
I mean, we've got what, 8 days now? So
8 days.
No, we're Saturday 7. No, technically the time of the day it's basically 8, but
yeah,
it's, I don't know how he's like. I was looking for his record there, and it's like I think it was 7 in the last 2 or 3 years cancelled fights. Like. And they all seem to like, none of them seem to be like, it's announcing it's cancelled. It always seems to be like once he's meant to be in camp. I don't know what's, I hope it happens. I really hope it happens. But just because when you've got that many cancellations, you just don't know.
Man, and I was such a big fan of Manel Kape when he was coming in from Rise, and like his wins over Kai Asakura, Ian McCall, like just absolutely awesome guy. But like I've met Muhammad Mokaev, and he's a really nice, genuine person. He's a young man coming in from IMAF. I think people have put a lot of expectations on him that he should be performing at a very high level. And like people are really disappointed with the Charles Johnson fight. Dude, Charles Johnson is super good, especially at counter wrestling. This is a big step up for Mokaev, but I think Mokaev probably wins this fight. Like if he can get a takedown, I don't know if there's much that Manel Kape will be able to do from there.
Yeah, I think it still surprises me how young Mokaev is. It's actually crazy that he's, I think, was he 23, 24 maybe?
Yeah. He's a young guy. He's
probably not got to hit his prime for like another 8 years. Yep. Like, possibly, depending on how things go. But I can definitely see him being champion. I think it is a good matchup if it does go ahead, which hopefully it shouldn't now at this point. But
who knows?
It's a good test for him. Kape as well. Like he's always it's got to be sort of an interesting build up because he likes to talk about it as well. And obviously Mokaev sort of sure of himself as well. So it's got to be I actually could see this being sort of, if it does go ahead, being a surprising fight of the night or something. Yep. Because people, Mokaev, because he's wrestling that, he's known, a lot of them like slates, because, but at the end of the day, he's winning, and he's not really had to get dragged into a sort of war yet. But whereas his stand up and stuff, I think his stand up's really underrated because he doesn't actually use it, but he doesn't need to use it.
Yeah.
So there's no point in him taking risks, unnecessary risks to get caught when he's got the wrestling to sort of nullify pretty much anyone. Whether it works against him or not, it makes it intriguing. But I think Mokaev sort of probably will take this one.
Oh yeah, no, I agree with you on this. Muhammad Mokaev all day. I think this is a good fight for him, and I like to see him develop. Let's do at least 2 more fights here because those are good fights. Arnold Allen versus Giga Chikadze. Great fight. Arnold Allen is a good striker. Giga Chikadze is a well above average striker, kickboxing background. I think there's a firefight right here. Who do you have in the Allen?
I've just changed my mind. I think that sort of guaranteed is your sort of fight of the night.
Yeah.
This one. I think this has sort of got that written all over it. I think that's a sort of 50-50 fight, this one. It's because obviously Arnold Allen's had the hard couple last fights, but even in his last fight, he done all right. Who was it? Was it Evolov? Was it?
Yeah, Masvar Evloev, who's amazing.
Yeah. So, but he's a brilliant fighter as well. So I think this fight will tell you a lot, but I think Arnold Allen, I think it actually might be similar to the Arnold Allen and Dan Hooker fight. Whereas I think I could see Arnold Allen coming out and just sort of try to blitz him, walk through him. I think it's got to be similar, but I could see it be going the distance and just being all at war for the whole sort of 15 minutes or whatever. But I'm leaning towards Arnold Allen with that one. About yourself?
Perfect. No, I'm glad you said that. I am leaning towards Giga Chikadze in this one, so that's very good. But I expect it to be quite a war. I did a prospect breakdown for Arnold Allen, and I wish I could remember all the stuff I said. It's on a different computer, but like, I think he falls for almost every feint or something like that. And I think against Giga that might work really well. I kind of forget what it was.
Because he's unbelievable striking as well. So I think it's got to be it will be a firefight.
Yes.
I think they're both really tough though, so I think it will go the distance regardless. But I think it will be a back and forth sort of war.
It's going to be a fun one,
Definitely.
All right, we have, and he is moving up. Man, I just Nathaniel Wood moving up in weight was such a good idea. He just keeps getting better, man. And some of those fights, like the one that you and I had watched in London back in July. He looks so good going up in weight. He's smaller, but he's faster than all these guys.
Exactly.
How do you see him playing out again? Man, go ahead. Yeah, what do you think?
I think that sort of benefits him some because there's certain fighters who you move up and they sort of look out of place. But I think that suits him a little better moving up. And as you said, faster as well, a little more crisp sort of thing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he looks good. And now he had a cut, I think, last year or something like that in training, but now he's back. A loss to Muhammad Naimov. You know, that stuff happens sometimes.
Which is not exactly, as we said earlier.
No joke in that one at all. But yeah, and who do you have in the Daniel Pineda's a fun fighter. Had some wars with guys like Cub Swanson back in the day, Alex Caceres coming off a loss, and a very close fight, weirdly judging on Alex Caceres. But how do you see him fighting Nathaniel Wood?
I think Nathaniel Wood could probably take that. But still, it's one of the ones as well. As you say, we're moving up weight and stuff like that. I think he's sort of found his place a bit. I think for the backing of the British crowd and that as well, I think that's got to, all the British fighters will be similar sort of thing. It's got to spur them on a bit, and I think it maybe get him that extra sort of bonus to give him a bit more to go for it. But it's another one of the fights that sort of I could see. Most of these fights are, to be honest, it's a really well thingied card. A lot of them are 50-50. There's no sort of any fights where I'd say clear winners.
Oh yeah, Caceres. I'm just trying to find the old scorecards on Alex Caceres and the Daniel Pineda one because I remember the last one. Because I might do a screen share in a sec.
Yeah.
Oh no, I thought I judged that one. Never mind. Okay. Never mind. Because on one of his fights, I was the only dissenting voice in all of MMA. Something like that. Oh yeah, not bad. Okay, yeah. So this is one of my best scorecards that I've ever done here. Let me do share screen. Just this one. Nice. So you can see Sean Woodson. Oh, you dropped out. Sean Woodson.
Oh, there you go.
Alex Caceres. 30-27 Woodson, Tim Wheaton. That was everyone else's Caceres. Apparently I don't know how to judge very well. This is one of my worst.
What's that different fight? They must have all been wrong.
Yeah, I think everyone else was wrong. Although the judges got the same scorecard as me, which actually doesn't say very much. But yeah, let's.
But that's true.
That's bad there. Okay, so let's do last word here. Talk us on out of here. Shout out who you need to shout out. All that good stuff, sir.